Hello and welcome back to the X-Files Revisited. We are moving on with season 4. We are now up to episode 4, Detour. Brian, why don't you tell us a little bit about where this lands in the legacy of the X-Files?
I think it's a well liked one, but it's not one of them ones that I see get talked about an awful lot. It's one that when I watch it, I'm like, this is really good. I think every time I watch it, I really enjoy it. But I think it has the disadvantage of being sandwiched between what, quite frankly, is a pretty awesome run of episodes. Because I know, like, next week's episode is a bit of a fan favorite.
Okay.
And last week's that we did, the Unusual Suspects, that's a bit of a fan favorite, coming right off the back of what is regarded as one of the best mythology kind of three-parters. So it's this. I think it's, if it had appeared like in season 2, somewhere in season 2 or in season 1, something like that, or maybe amongst a few of the bad episodes in season 3 or 4, I think it would stand out more. I just feel like maybe it doesn't because of where it's placed, but actually taken on its own, I do feel like it deserves some love. But whether or not you feel the same way, we'll get into in just a moment. But care to guess where this sits in the 217 episodes ranking on IMDb?
Okay, 217. I'm going to be a little bit bold. I think it's going to be in the top quarter. So I'll say 54.
Okay, all right. That is very bold. It's at 77. So
Wow.
yeah,
Wow. Okay.
yeah. As I say, I am of the mind that when I think about this episode, I do think it should be in the 50s. So yeah, I as I say, I think it's one of them ones that fans love, but it just for whatever reason gets dumped down the lower tier of the ones they love because there's so many other great ones to choose from. But yeah, there you go.
Yeah, cool. Let's dive into this episode then. We'll talk it out.
Let's do it. Okay, so we open up on two surveyors getting taken out by a red-eyed wood creature of some description. Just it's like Darkness Falls, but without the insects.
Yes, yes. Or even a little bit of Jersey Devil about this one as well.
Yeah. It could go either way, couldn't it? Just off this opening, you're like, okay, this is either Darkness Falls or Jersey Devil.
I tell you what gives it a little bit of an insight, and it's throwaway because these two people are about to die. It is the interaction.
Yeah.
You know, you can feel like even though you only get a few sentences, you can almost feel how this partnership works with these two guys.
Yeah.
You know? So I think like that alludes to the fact that this is going to be, and it's something I'll say, well written throughout.
Yeah.
Funny.
It's almost like there's an unnecessary effort put into what is essentially throwaway characters. Yeah. So after the opening titles, we get a father and son finding the remains of what we can only assume is these surveyors. The dad tells the son to run with the dog and don't turn back. The kid, after some pushing, kind of does so, and he hears some shots fired.
I think this is really effective. It's really effective. You know, father and son kind of try to do a bonding moment. There's that fear of the unknown because we know there's something out there. The father can just sense it. You know, that parental care over the child, that there's something wrong here, and the fact that you don't get to see what happens to the father. It's playing with some good tropes. You know, like it's playing within the realms of your own mind. You're trapped in there going, well, what is going on? Which I like a lot, and the faces that you see appearing through things, and you're like, what the hell's going on here?
Yeah. I think that the faces are very effective.
Amazing.
I'm not sure about the red eyes. I feel like the red eyes are a bit of a go-to in horror. So we've got to give something red eye. But like when you see the face and like, you know, people kind of, they recognize a pattern in the bark, and then you recognize it and you're like, hang on, there's a face there. And then the eyes open, and it's almost like the eyes are the cheap part of that puzzle, but it's still effective overall. But I do think that
I understand what you're saying about the eyes, and they do look a little bit hokey. Not the best effects, but they're used to good effect, especially during like nighttime shots. And it does it a lot where they'll be like in the house later on with the boy, where the eyes just open in the bathroom. It's chasing after him. It's
that's a good one, I think. So we go from there. From Mulder and Scully are riding with two other agents on their way to a team building seminar. They come to a roadblock, to which Mulder says, "Thank you, Jesus," which has just cracked me up. So Mulder goes for a walk, but gets collared by the missing man's wife, who wants to know what's going on. So he says he'll go to find out. So yeah, I love
the car ride. The car ride is tremendous. Now, for anybody out there who's been on team building events, this is basically the only two groups of people that you get. Those that love it and can't get enough of it, and myself, Mulder and Scully, who are just like, we need to get this over and done with as quick as possible.
Yeah, big time. I think it's this scene as well that really clarifies just what kind of episode we're in for. We realise, oh, okay, this is going to be one where it's okay to laugh. It's not going to take itself too seriously, and I think from here on out you kind of know which camp this one sits in, and all the better for it, I think. I love these two agents. I love Mulder's response to them. The fact that he's not even trying to hide his disdain for these people.
I like the fact that in this episode, how you get the humour through the conversations, but when the horror happens, the horror is scary.
Yes.
Terrifying. So it's not like it takes any of the levity away from that. It just it's nice. It's nicely balanced.
Yeah, that's horror comedy at its best, isn't it? The scares are scary, the laughs are funny. It's exactly what it should be. So, which I think is a really hard balancing act to achieve. Yeah, definitely. It's an unsung skill, I think. But so Scully follows Mulder, and Mulder speaks to the sheriff that's in charge, starts getting excited once she starts to reveal bits of information, and the sheriff says they don't need help. Scully says they need to go. Mulder tries not to use any negative words. Just having a little shot at the two agents back in the car. So
again, this is normally where you meet the douchebag sheriff, but this one seems rather capable and helpful and very knowledgeable.
Yeah,
which is again, it's a nice detour.
And female, I might add. So all the male sheriffs are just like your proper Hicksville kind of douchebags. There you go. That'll be a lesson to you. Right, so we go to the mother and child that I'm actually quite surprised to see at this point, because they're usually the characters that like, oh, how come we're going back to these? They're becoming like a main focus of the episode, when usually like we wouldn't see these guys again. It'd be whoever the next victim is. But the mum says good night to Lewis, I think the child's called, tells him to be brave, puts some bowls into the kitchen where the dog sits by the window looking spooked. So essentially just a bridge scene, but also building to what's to come. So
yeah. Just the dog, the dog's the big indicator, isn't it? Those, like, ears in the back of the neck things. You're like, right, okay. So yeah, we're into something here.
Yeah, they're the only ones that can see T800s. So yeah. So Mulder is on the computer. Scully brings in some drinks. This is the hotel room. And Mulder tells her that no animal species attack the strongest member of a herd. They all go for the weakest. Which, is enthralling piece of information for Scully.
She's got her cheese and wine. She's like,
ready
to switch off for the night.
It's just like she's just like, Mulder, we're away on a team building weekend. That means it's free reign to do what we want. Chillax. We don't need to work a case. Thank you very much. Back at the house, Beau is barking. The mum lets him out. He won't come back in. But when she goes back, the door has been shut. She bangs on it, and Lewis wakes up, sees these red eyes in the corner of his room, and runs through a pet flap. And as he gets through the pet flap, Mulder grabs him. So yeah, as you were alluding to earlier, very effective scene. I think it does. It's one of them that kind of sends us shivers. Like we've all, certainly as kids, at any rate, we've all been in our beds at night, looking into the darkness in a corner, kind of thinking, is something there? I feel like there's something there. I'm making out shapes, and I think it does tap into that very kind of primal fear of things lurking in the dark, and it's just it's shot really well.
Yeah, and the kid does the smart thing of running away, whereas like most adults do the infuriating thing, going, this
yes, as soon as he sees it, that's it, he's gone. Yeah,
he's off.
Yeah, he's not trying to get closer and okay, so Scully checks the boy's room and finds a video cassette of The Invisible Man. Mulder finds prints of a creature that walks on the balls of its feet. The sheriff backs him up, says they found.
Oh my goodness.
Similar prints.
So smug.
This is one of them occasions where Scully's like reaching, and it's like, well, he said he saw a creature that was kind of invisible with red eyes. Yeah. He was watching The Invisible Man, that night. So, hey ho. But, I mean, come on. Who finds the 1930s Invisible Man that scary? Isn't it? No. It's like... it's just like, I was traumatized by a horror movie I watched. Oh, what was it?
I tell you,
Invisible Man. There's
some good acting there, especially when the sheriff says everything that Mulder's just said, and that look that he gives is just like so smug and satisfied.
So the team enter the woods with a heat signature gun straight out of Aliens. So it gives us that classic trope of being able to see something coming closer on a monitor. Boop, 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 boop. It's just like allows them to build tension without actually having to show us anything. But
and that's we meet Jeff here as well. Jeff, what a guy.
I love this guy. So it's him who gives the cruelty of nature speech, isn't it? And then as he's giving this speech about the cruelty of nature, a hand takes a rock. We see this kind of predator-like, invisible-ish hand taking the rock.
The little breadcrumbs that they're leaving to find a way back. Yeah, which I kind of liked. You knew it was coming though.
Because of the way the shots were kind of aligned. But now I did put a note about really liking this speech that he gave on the cruelty of nature. But other than that, no, I can't remember anything about it. It's been a few days since I've watched this, so yeah. But the machine picks something up and a chase ensues.
Yes, they separate. Is it?
Yeah, they separate, yeah. So the guys go off one way and the far more competent ladies go off the other way. I'm looking at these two groups and I'm thinking, okay, which one of the... Yeah. Which two would I rather be with? And I've got to go with Scully and the sheriff.
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer. So Scully and the sheriff realise they're being separated. And see, that's the thing. It's not Mulder and the guy that realise they're being separated. No. It's Scully and the sheriff. They're the ones who make the link. So they realise they're being separated and decide to go back. But Michelle gets picked off.
Yeah. Which is a shame because I kind of like Michelle. You know,
yeah. And it kind of goes against the whole notion that they would pick off the weakest.
Yeah.
So they have a debate about whether or not to go back. Mulder's kind of like, no, we got to find her. You know, we'll leave no man behind, or woman for that matter. But the guy with the machine, he's actually talking sense. They don't have the manpower. It's silly. You know, if anyone who's seen a horror movie set out in the woods knows you don't stay out there if you don't have to. So they decide to go back. But
the kind of thing I like about this is they're having the whole debate. Mulder's like, they've took Michelle because she's leading the pack. She's the strongest. Yeah. And it's like, that's why they've took her. And then cuts to Mulder and Scully walking behind Jeff. You know, they push Jeff out front. Mulder's just right behind the back. And just like,
I think I love how they call it out as well. They're pretty open about things with Jeff, but then they're like, lead the way, pal.
That was him. I'd run away.
So the machine picks up something, and it's like a divide and conquer situation. Mulder is attacked, Scully shoots, and they're I can't quite see what happens there. I just go in my notes, just go straight to a campfire and Flintstones.
Jeff disappears.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So Jeff got picked off.
Yeah. Well, we think that. You think that just that time. Because it just vanishes, but it's nicely done. And then, like you said, the campfire sequence. Yeah.
So there's a campfire sequence, and basically Mulder once again looking all weak and having to be put back together by Scully.
It's such a weird sequence because she's literally mothering him. You know, he's like lying across her. She's putting the cover over him. He's like, I'm cool. And she just go to sleep.
Oh man, it's great. So, but the absolute cracker is it kind of reminds me of that scene in the Loch Ness one when they're having that long conversation and it's just Mulder and Scully chilling on a rock, and it's just it's quite funny.
3 feet from shore.
Yeah. Only here, like Mulder's like, sing to me, Scully. It's like she's really reluctant, but then like after this really long uncomfortable pause, she's like, Jeremiah was a bullfrog.
And it does that be like the sort of jokes he does as well, where it's like, you know, the best way is for two people to be naked.
Yeah, she's like, no chance. On your bike, pal. I'll sing a song. So it's in the morning and Scully goes looking for berries and she is taken, or at least it seems like she's taken. But then we realise she has fallen down a hole. So there is an attack. Mulder drops his gun. Shot
Smartest move.
Although this is intentional. This time she doesn't have her gun. This creature is kind of closing in on her, and then Mulder, trying to be helpful, drops his gun down the hole.
I do, again, another little bit of acting by Duchovny as he chucks his gun down and then realises he's not alone up there. And
it's like, oh man, what a numbnuts move. So he does the only sensible thing and drops himself into the hole. Scully shoots and kills the creature, and then just as they're kind of like dealing with the fact that they are now stuck down a hole, a search party descends upon them and finds them, it's kind of a little bit like, you know, we said the whole Darkness Falls thing at the beginning. This is a little bit like the Darkness Falls ending, in which they conveniently show up, but I feel like this is better set up. Like it's more believable to me that this search party would be out there to begin with, looking for these guys, because one, they know they went out looking and didn't come back that night, and two, there would already be a search party out looking for that woman's husband and the like. So I don't have a...
I'll tell you what I love about this sequence particularly, and something that runs all the way through the episode, is the whole episode is about teamwork. They're going on a team building adventure. They mention the building of office furniture at the start. He kind of jokes on it, and when they're down the hole, they're literally building a tower of dead bodies to get themselves out the hole, which is kind of like their version of the team building, because this is their office. And it's never like pointed at or like, isn't this funny? It's just there. It's like if you catch it.
It's a really great observation, and it kind of shows us that Mulder and Scully don't need a team building exercise. It's this is for the suckers that were in the car at the beginning, it's
the morbid nature of they're just building a pile of human corpses together.
If you're not paying attention, you miss it big time. So we cut to the dad from the guy at the beginning, getting loaded into the ambulance, and the mother kind of descending on him, and then she goes to not Mulder but the other agent and starts thanking him. Like, we think she's going to go to Mulder at first, but she doesn't. She goes to the other guy and it's like, oh, thank you. Mulder goes over and also thanks the agent for having found them and stuff, and the agent's like, well, it's kind of, we didn't really do anything, to be honest. But then Mulder kind of points to there was a tree kind of graph that this guy was looking at earlier on in the episode, when they'd first got out of the car, and Mulder points to something on it that says ad nocturne, which means into the darkness. And he has a conversation with this guy about why did it go after the kid? No, hang on. So this is the conversation. So he has a conversation with him about this this thing to do with the tree line, and it was something to do with the person who had written that quote or whatever.
Was it like Spanish
conquistadors? Yeah. So they're the people who basically come looking for the garden, not the garden of youth, the fountain of youth, basically. So Mulder posits the theory that these things they were looking at are indeed those conquistadors who had found that eternal youth thing. But then, so it's in that conversation that Mulder suddenly realises, hang on, why didn't they go after the kid? And then he's like, oh crap, where's Scully? So Mulder rushes to the hotel. We expect one final showdown with this last creature and Scully, and it's set up the way like any typical X-Files closer is, but Mulder just gets there, and it just says, "Let's get the hell out of here," and then they do a bunk. So it's like a fake out kind of thing. But we do see eyes under the bed, so it was actually there, and it was going after Scully. But yeah, thoughts, wrap up.
I loved this episode, Brian. I really did. It gave me the scares, and it gave me the witty dialogue that lasted all the way through it, that I found to be really clever, engaging, and highlighting a lot of how good Mulder and Scully are together. You know, at the start, like all the way through this, you see them in the same wavelength. Like when they're in the car, they're both like bored and annoyed with these other two people that are hyper. They have conversations without saying a word throughout this, just by looks and glances. I think Mulder highlights it at one point. They work great together. They don't really have any argumentative moments, other than the odd now and again. But it's showing how good they are together. But in doing that, we also get funny, witty dialogue. We get scenes that are genuinely scary. And as this one finished, I really wished, or I hope, that there's going to be a follow-up to this, because I thought great villains. You know, one with a grudge now, as the other one's been killed, and just everything about it was terrific. Is it a 5 out of 5 episode? I don't think so, but when I think about this one, I think of it as like a really 5 out of 5 episode. I enjoy it. I can't find a fault with it, but I don't think it's as good as the episodes that preceded it. I'm really stuck with it. I think I'll go safety and say 4.5 on this one.
Yeah, I went with a 4.5, and I think my reasonings are that I view this in the same way that I view popcorn cinema, where it does exactly what you want it to do. It's fun. I mean, we've been talking about it. It took us like 25 minutes to get through this episode. It usually takes us a bit longer than that. And I think that's because there's nothing of any great depth in this one. I don't think it's not one that you walk away thinking about for ages, because it had all these great thematics. It's just an enjoyable ride. The humor is funny, the horror is creepy, and it all works together really well. It's just breezes along, really nice pace, and you come out of it with a smile on your face going, when's the next episode of X-Files? So that's it really, and it does that really well. So for me, it's a 4.5 out of 5.
You've already alluded to the fact that the next episode is good. Is this the strongest beginning to an X-Files season that we've seen so far?
Oh yes, without question, I would say, without question. So the next one is, so I said it's a fan favourite. In the past, I've not been as high on it as most fans, I'll say that much. But I get the feeling that coming to it for next week, I'll have my critical head on. I'll be looking at every scene, and and I get the feeling it'll be one of them ones where I won't actually be able to fault it. It'll just be more like a feeling. I think if there's anything that stops me giving it a 5, it'll probably be because it's something I just don't feel drawn to, as opposed to any objective sensibilities about it being bad. But it's a black and white episode that it's black and white, and it really taps into like the old Universal monster movies, that kind of thing. And it's got some really good Mulder and Scully moments in it. Some real fan favourite Mulder Scully moments, one in particular. But yeah, it's kind of, think of like Frankenstein's monster, that kind of thing, and done with as much of the 30s Universal style as possible.
Brian, that everything you've said is making me super excited to check out. I cannot wait to watch this one. Because this is a quick season as well. There's only 20 episodes in it.
20 episodes, and I do think that may have something to do with the rise in quality. Just being although I say that, but that time that was taken away by not doing those extra 4 episodes was actually going into the movie. So did they have any more time? Probably not, to be honest. I just think they just hit a stride by this point. But yeah, certainly the opening of this season is very strong.
Incredibly strong. Fantastic. Well, I hope you enjoyed Detour as much as we did, and we will see you next week for the postmodern Prometheus, which I cannot wait to check out now. You can also like this on YouTube or give us a review on iTunes, which we would love to hear from you. It really helps other people discover our podcast. And we'll see you next week for the next episode of the X-Files Revisited.